Uh, I'm Manuel Cepeda, he's Augustin Villena, my partner. We come from Chile, and we are helping the Chilean government in order to deploy and kickstart the strategy in an uncertainty environment. So we are going to talk about that. Who are we? Well, we are a company called Insight, and we aim to tackle problems with our clients in complex projects and strategic deployment and agile transformations. So we define ourselves not as a consultant, we define ourselves as Sherpas. Why do we define ourselves in that way? Because we go with our clients in the journey in order to solve big problems or tackle complex problems too. So this is our purpose as a company, and it defines what do we believe. What do we believe? We believe that only the organizations that unleash their collective intelligence will remain relevant and thrive. So that is our believing, and we try to make our best effort to make the best company in order to thrive. So why do we think in this way? Well, in the United States, this study from 2009 shows that the 30% of the work in that moment was algorithm, so it's a repetitive kind of work. And the rest, the 70% of the work was called heuristic or complex. So people have to explore new solutions every day. So you don't go to the work and you have to create something new all the days. So if we take this kind of context today, and we take 50 years ago how the companies were working, we can say that in the 50 years ago and above, we say the companies were like a football table. So we have these players that are the collaborators inside the company. They were tied by bureaucracy processes and bosses that were telling what they have to do. So it's like a football table where the players outside are the bosses telling the people what they have to do. And that was fine, because in that time, the context was not changing too rapidly like in that moment. So if a problem happens in that company, the boss just see what's going on, and he tried to solve that with their managers. And everybody have to follow what is he saying. But that is a problem today, because if we remain with that kind of thinking, we say that we have a low adaptive system in this kind of organization. And today, the context is changing rapidly, so the uncertainty is making that kind of company not thrive and remain irrelevant. So what is our task in Chile in this case, and as Agile and Lean consultants? Well, we try to unleash the people from these bonds in order to make them think quickly and take decisions and timely in order to maintain their organizations relevant. So it's not as easy as just taking the people and unleash their bonds from these football tables, because we can have problems inside, because people will try to act as an alignment and with bad autonomy we kill. So as Henrik Niebuhr says, alignment enables autonomy, but we want to go further with that. And we want to say that good alignment enables added value autonomy. And how we can do that, we take some input and insights, for example, for Toyota production system, and we talk about it. So we are going to talk about strategy deployment, or Hoshinkanri in Japanese. So when we go to some companies, people or managers think they are working in an environment like this stadium. I'm going to take the football as a good metaphor, because football has resolved a lot of problems related with uncertainty. When we go to the organization, we see a field like this. The manager thinks that the field is like this, but the reality is that this is the reality. Okay? So the thing, we have everything set up very well, but the real is that the goal is not well defined or not communicated with the people. There is a lot of obstacles in order to people make a better job. So we start to think in the beginning to show them they have a problem with that. So that is the good method, for example, Kanban. In order they visualize they have problems, and there's some stuff that are not defined very well. So in the beginning, with Kanban, we show them this kind of things, and after that, we start with the alignment process. In the beginning, we tell the managers they have to define a good purpose and communicate to the people. Additionally to that, they have to define the values that drive how the people behave inside the organization. If you have right values and right purpose, you start the alignment process from the top. Well, sometimes managers say, okay, we are ready. We have the purpose and values. We are a fantastic company. We are aligned with everybody. But that's not the reality. And we have this. Okay? We take this metaphor from this is Lean book. It's a great metaphor, where people, maybe they know where are the goals, but every department and area thinks that they are achieving the purpose of the company. But that's not the reality. Everybody is thinking in their own goals and thinking they are achieving the purpose of the company, but are not aligning between the departments. So managers get angry and say, wow, what is going on? We define the purpose and values. We have to do something. So we help them. And we need to go further with the strategy and alignment. So we say, okay, you have to resolve big problem with this strategy. But it's a bad strategy to, for example, as a goalkeeper, go shoot the ball and try to score in the other side of the field. Why? Because the chances to achieve that goal is lower. So let's take, for example, the football and learn from them. The best strategy is, for example, take this big problem and divide it in order to achieve the goal. So in this case, the goalkeeper should give the ball, for example, to the defense, to the midfielder, and then to the forwarder in order to achieve the goal. So he divides the problem as a team in order to achieve this strategy problem of achieving goals. So for example, we have here Bale and Cristiano, and Bale could think, okay, I will shoot the goal and just score the goal. But the chances for that are lower if he thinks to go with the ball to the Cristiano and then take the ball again back and score the goal. The chances are higher in that kind of things. So it's a better strategy to take these big problems and divide them in order to accomplish the strategy. Okay, but that's not enough. Why? Because we have uncertainty in this kind of problem. So in this case, we don't know where the ball is going to go because football tackles uncertainty. So how can we learn from football in order to tackle this uncertainty in organizations? Well, we say that the football players inside the field, please, I am empowering you to take decision by yourself because you know what is going on in the field in the real time. If the coach outside is going to tell each player how to move, it's not realistic and it's not going to win the game. So in organizations, we try to empower the people in order to tackle uncertainty, and they can be able to not just to execute stuff, they have to think how to take better decisions. So as you can see here, we have a leader telling inside the field how to behave inside the match. So adding the problem that we divide and adding the uncertainty, how to tackle that, we say that the uncertainty is managed about using the PDCA Deming Cycle. So these feedback loops, for example, if a player have the ball and is thinking where I have to put the ball in this moment, the uncertainty because the other players are moving, I have to take decision faster in order to know how to move. So we introduce this kind of PDCA cycle where we are improving the organization in real time while we are working. So in every level, we have the coach thinking, oh, things are moving, I have to change the strategy. Inside the field, the leaders are thinking, oh, we have to change the tactics, and the players are trying to think how to change their movement in order to achieve their own goals, in order to achieve the strategic problem. So now we have this problem divided with cycles of learning process in order to achieve the strategy. But that is not enough. We need a great tool that we learn from Japanese. It's called Jidoka. In Jidoka, we say that we need to see how the flow behaves and when the flow stops. So if we don't have Jidoka, it's like having players that are blind and they can't hear anything about it. They can hear the whistle of the referee. They can see what is the other players doing and what are they saying. So if we have the ability to visualize what is happening in the organization, we can empower people to take decisions faster, like the football is doing here. The other principle is called just in time. In just in time, we take decision in the moment that is the right to take it. For example, here we have Alexis Sanchez jumping in the right moment in order to go further with against the other player. If he jumps before, he will not achieve the goal he's trying to do in order to move forward with the field. And finally, to align, we start to see some patterns that is working in the organization. And we call those standards. In this case, for example, learning from the football, we see that each player is in the side of each of the opponents. So this is a good way to standardize the way that we create defensive movements inside the field. And then we have the tools that let the people, in order to increase the muscles, in order to be better and create continuous improvement strategies. So we can think, okay, we are ready. It's everything that we need to create this alignment that enables the good autonomy. But we need one ingredient more. We need a distributed decision making. And we call this flip the pyramid. And we change the way the role of the boss. And the boss is just not the guy who is telling what you have to do in order to achieve your goals. We say that the boss changed his role as a leader. He empowers the people in order to take better decisions. When you do that, you let the people respond rapidly to the changing environment, making the organization relevant. So the role of this guy is not telling what to do, is coaching them to take better decisions. So he needs to show them how to think about it. Another stuff that is very important, that the boss don't have to go with the solution to these people. They need to show them the problem and don't give the solution in order to make them think and create this muscle of thinking inside of the organization. So we try to create a collaborative intelligence system that is thinking about itself. And finally, we create this role of the teacher and the students, and it's a continuous improvement inside the system. So summarizing, we have a linear strategy deployment. We have this leader who divides the problem and encourages his people to solve and help him to solve this big problem. It's a strategical problem. These guys do the same with their collaborators, and he do the same. It's like a fractal. After that, these guys give feedback to the top. So we have a system that is with information that is going to top and to the bottom. And we have all the system in PDCA learning faster. So if we mix this with Agile, we can flat the organization in order to move forward with this kind of distribution. So we call this AUTOPOIETIC organization. An AUTOPOIETIC organization is a system able to reproduce itself and maintain itself in a context or an ecosystem. So if the context and ecosystem is changing rapidly, we need to have an AUTOPOIETIC system able to adapt in order to survive and thrive in this context. So people are watching what are we doing here. What are we doing as our organization, creating these AUTOPOIETIC organizations in order to thrive in this new context? So what's the way to start with this? Well, as Johan Cruyff said, you can't score a goal if you don't take a shot. So we need to try new things, learn that we can fail, we can thrive about this. And we are going to finish with a very good moment for the Chilean people like this. Okay, we can't avoid to show this because our national team was not so good in the past, and now it's one of the best national teams in the world. And almost was the mindset that they changed in order to achieve their goals and be one of the best teams in the planet. Now Augustin will tell you how we deploy this strategy in the government agencies for innovation and entrepreneurship. So Augustin, please.
Okay.
Everyone loves to see Argentina get beat.
We knew about it.
Chileans also. No? Okay. Oh, also. A ver.
Ahí se fue.
Okay. 5. No. Con funciones. 5.
Ahí.
Exacto. Okay. Thank you, Manuel. Well, I will present the context of our work. SDA deployment for us was a great discovery in the last 2 years. But first, I want to present Chile, our country. We are in South America. We're a very long and narrow country. We have 17 million people there. We have the desert of Atacama, the driest desert in the world, but when it rains, it converts in that beautiful place with a lot of flowers, called the Desierto Florido, a desert full of flowers. Our wines are appreciated worldwide, but we also have very beautiful places like East Iceland, it's Chilean, and Torres del Paine, and many other beautiful places. But we also have poetry, Pablo Neruda, Gabriela Mistral, Nicanor Parra. And it's said that Chile is a fast place to do business. But we have a problem. Our GDP per capita is around $22,000. That's the metric from 2014. But we have a problem. The problem is that our research and development investment is below the 1%. It's very, very low. And we have another problem, decentralization. Almost the half of the population of Chile lives in Santiago. That is called the Región Metropolitana. It's in the center of Chile, around 6 or 7 million now. And obviously, the great majority of research and development is done there. Probably there is no any meaningful IT business outside Santiago. We also want to remark some difference between the UK culture, the British culture, with the Chilean culture. This is some interesting study. That is the source. You can compare any country with another. We have two big differences between Chilean and British culture. One of them is the uncertainty avoidance. Chileans are not very accustomed to work with avoidance, and if avoid it, or even more, ignore it, and that have a great problems with research and development. And we also have a more substance, but the difference derived by power. We are more eager to accept that the boss has the reason. British, no. You are British here? This, no, we're not. But Chileans, they say, yeah, yes, boss, I do that. We're working with a Chilean governmental agency. It's called Corfo. Corfo is the entity responsible to help funding innovation in certain companies and new startups. And we work with two mentorships in parallel, with two departments. One department is an entrepreneurship department that is funding new companies, new startups. The most famous program is called Startup Chile, when more than 1,000 startups were people from around the world, around only 20% from Chile, around 80% are from United States, Europe, India, etc. Okay? It's very well known in the entrepreneurship camp. And Innovate Chile, it's similar to Innovate UK, that is in the same building. It's about funding existing companies want to innovate. But we have a deadline. The current political administration of President Bachelet will end its term in the beginning of 2018. And the managers in Corfo will be going with the president. Okay? We are working with managers and executives. Therefore, we have a great challenge that is to build something that will remain after the managers will leave. Well, which lesson we learned in the month that we start working with Corfo? Please be aware that it's a work in progress. We have only a few months, 6 months in the case of entrepreneurship and 3 months in the Innovate Chile. But we already have some lessons that we want to share with you. First, let's model a typical service delivery organization. A customer that interacts with a service delivery organization, requesting needs and receiving afterwards services. To do the service, to build the service, the organization has defined a structured business process that is carried out by a specialist that has the different functions. Okay, they are supervised by a manager where the manager is in charge to align people with a broader strategy. Okay, we will analyze this service delivery organization in 2 dimensions. The first dimension is about strategy alignment that Manuel was talking about, where the managers said to the people to change their processes to be more in line with the strategy, and the people are held accountable for the results, and the manager in itself is also accountable to the higher management to report the results. Okay. And the goal is to invert the pyramid. We want to change the typical roles where managers make decisions and executives execute the work and report towards what a leader guides well decision making, and executives are empowered to do decisions, to make decisions, and to do the work. But where our initial situation? We have a manager with high knowledge in the subject matter. In this case, it's about entrepreneurship and innovation, but a lot of anxiety. Bring me results, people. But he is very accustomed, or she is very accustomed to order the people what to do. And he said to us, this worked for me before. I'm a successful manager. I am in charge of the whole innovation of Chile. Giving orders is good for me. And the other challenge is that he says, I'm saying A, but I not only want A, I only want A++. I want a better solution that I'm thinking now. But what is the problem with executives? They are very accustomed to know about brochures, to paperwork. And the knowledge about innovation and entrepreneurship varies from people. Okay? And when he doesn't understand their boss, they say, I don't have the emotional safety to ask to the boss, and they say, can you explain me a little more? What do you want? And the root cause is severed communication. If you remember, this device is called the cone of silence to be a more effective communication, but it really didn't work. They usually doesn't communicate through visual thinking. That is a very common tool we use in the Lean Kanban community. Okay? They only communicate by words. Here we remember all the wisdom from the Chinese culture. That it says, tell me and I will forget, show me and I will remember, and involve me and I will understand. That is attributed to Sun Tzu. But I hacked it a little and put in the role from the manager and from the giant manager. Tell them and they will forget. Show them and they will remember, involve with them, and we will understand. And the we is, for us, the key. Why? When we talk about we talk about shared understanding. From the role of executives is understanding the purpose behind manager's request. And from the role of the manager is about understand the practical implications of your request. If the manager doesn't have any feedback, it's usually about from the ivory tower, and he doesn't have any idea how to know the problems that the executive will have, the practical problems the executive will have applying their intentions of ideas. The second perspective of analysis is about problem solving. The problem starts with a customer that has evolving needs. The organization needs to adapt to ever-changing needs of their customers. And the most important thing to adapt is about not only to building things right, they need to adapt to build the right things. And as you saw in the presentation of Manuel, we are the Deming Cycle. And in Toyota, they systematize the A3 report to teach people how to solve problems using the PDCA or Deming Cycle. Where in the left, you put an understanding of the problem and the desired state. It's called the target condition. And in the right part, you put the experiments that you will carry out to solve the problem. The traditional workflow is carried by a sensei. A sensei is an expert on the A3 method, an author that is in charge to build the report, and a business process that, for example, you want to improve. The sensei gives the author a challenge. A challenge is a problem, but without any metrics. It's only an intention of improvement. And the author goes to do Gemba. Gemba is to go with the and see where her own eyes the reality on the business process, to talk with the specialists that are carry out the business process, and forming insights that will be represented in an A3, and present the A3 report to the sensei to achieve feedback. And after some iterations, the sensei expected to sign the document, and the sensei is ready to be implemented. But we have, and you want to expect that you can divide the big problem, and when the author becomes a sensei, this will trigger a chain reaction in the organization from the bottom to from the top to the bottom. The A3 traditional workflow is set that is very simple. You start with a background and context and the goal, the root cause analysis, the countermeasures, and you expect to fill the report and have some information like this, exactly, some definition, some value stream mapping, okay? But the reality is not so straightforward. That is the reality. An expert, and when we started learning A3, we gladly found this problem. So what can we do? Well, our initial setting is about a manager, some supervisor, and some executives, a multidisciplinary team. And we have a problem. We didn't have training senseis on A3. They didn't even want to flip or invert the pyramid. They are accustomed to make orders. How can we work here? And let's say, well, we can use some agile tools like multidisciplinary teams, Scrum teams, or as you want, squads or cells, and you call them a task force that is oriented in one of the lines of the strategy, and the managers give them a challenge. And we started working with them. And we also prepare a shared understanding space that we created a challenge exploration canvas that is some sort of expanded A3 report on a team scale, okay? And it has 3 parts. The first part is about problem understanding. We put the problem that we are trying to solve, the context, the history that explains the problem, and we explicitly put the metrics to show the distance between our current condition with the target condition. That is our first intent to summarize the problem. We are also trying to adapt the story map from Jeff Patton, and we put in the first row the current condition and the last the true north. And every MVP, minimal variable product, or minimal variable change, is about to be more near to the true north. The second part is about the problem analysis. It's not root cause analysis. It's a little more simpler, and we use an iceberg as a metaphor. All the evidence or hard data is about in the tip of the iceberg, and below the surface we start the exploration. Since the Chileans are not very eager to accept or certainty, our hypothesis, if we can visualize what we are exploring, the people will be more comfortable exploring uncertainty. And we want to explore until finding hypothetical causes. And after that, the third part is like a tax board or a Kanban board. If you put with levers on them, that is an idea that we covered by the Claudio Perrone popcorn flow, if you know. Yeah? We put the root cause and all the countermeasures there, and we start assigning or self-assigning people to explore. And that has a very good impact in the people. The people has a lot of anxiety to do work, to make things. Okay, let's explore, and you will have very fast some things to do. Summing, we have a very different culture than the UK or than the European one. We have people that are not very accustomed to manage uncertainty, and we have also problems in our hierarchy with bosses and executives. And this is really working? No, not yet. The change reaction is only in the Santiago area, in the central region of Chile. We want to reach the whole territory of Chile, and we're still looking for ways to coordinate the projects that are running in parallel to improve visual management, where this challenge exploration canvas is work in progress. And we started doing some kind of cadences in a mutual meetings. The people are presenting their learnings, but they are not really presenting learnings. They are presenting only successes. And we said, it's very weird. You are exploring, you are doing new things, because why do you have fear to show your failures? And we need to insist that failure is not a bad thing if they are smart failures that could bring new learning. Thank you. And we are here, very happy to be in London. It's our first time, and we expect to travel a lot more from here. Any questions?
Somebody has any question?
It's, I find what you're saying about shared understanding very similar to Koiko-Attich's ideas, if you come across those. So
With what?
Koiko-Attich's, so specification by example, really kind
exactly.
so kind of emphasizes that aspect of it, promoting shared understanding. So
The specification, for example, start with probably defines some kind of target condition that you want to end in the target condition, and maybe it's similar, but the problem is when you apply the specification by example, it's a very narrow horizon. Here I'm working to change for 2,000 million pesos to 10,000 million pesos uses in startups, and it's very big gaps. And we are trying to define small steps to achieve that in only 1 year. It's very big jumps, and we are trying to explain people that Kaikaku is not a very safe way to explore. You need to do some Kaizen. Maybe a specification is like a target condition, but the gap is more bigger.
Yeah, in government, people try to think about the strategies in a long term. For example, 1-2 years and one shot. And we are trying to change the mindset. Sometimes it's not possible because they have these budgets that are committed to a year. But sometimes it's possible to slice the problem in order to tackle it and learning in a learning process, learning from them.
When we started, the countermeasures were expected to last around 6 months. 6 months is a lot of time. You need to have information in only most 1 month. No, I can do it. Yes, you can do that. And we are trying to help them to change the mindset to design small experiments. You don't have to apply the whole policy in Chile. You must apply the whole policy in only a region, one region. No. But it's a work in progress.
Yeah, actually, Chile is the Chilean government is one of the biggest investors in South America, considered by itself. So a lot of countries or other people of other countries from South America come to Chile to receive funds from the Chilean government in order to create their startups or create their innovations. That's a famous program. Actually, it's one of the state of the art of one of the more challenging programs in the world. It has a lot of funds, and actually today in Chile we have the productivity year. So everybody's looking at this kind of initiatives in order to move forward with this kind of stuff. So any other question? Okay, thanks.
Thank you.